Tell us about you and your role within change, and also what you're doing at the moment in your new endeavors.
I started as developer many years ago, did business analyst, many years as project and program manager.
Which of the types of roles did you find most rewarding? 'Cause they're similar, but they're not really the same, are they?
They are not the same. I would love that you, Cliff, could share with us your main challenges.
Of course, the main challenges. Welcome to the Change Leaders Playbook, bringing you all things delivery leadership in a podcast. I'm Cliff, an experienced delivery leader with a passion for the teams and the businesses that are changing the game. Today, I'm joined by my special guest, Raquel Horta, a highly experienced project and program leader, and we're going to be unpacking what program success means, a bit about coaching, and much more. Now, Raquel has over 25 years experience spanning software development, business analysis, project and program management, as well as operations and strategy roles. She's even played chief of staff roles and is currently a project and program management coach and consultant, as well as a co-founder of a services company. And with that, I'd love to welcome Raquel to the show. Hi, Raquel. How are you?
Hi, Cliff. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for inviting me and share my thoughts about some of the topics that you really would like to know more. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I've been looking forward to this all day. So I'd really want to start by just giving you a chance to introduce yourself, Raquel, to the audience. You've got quite an interesting background. Tell us about you and your role within change, and also what you're doing at the moment, potentially in your new endeavors.
Happy to do it. So long story, but I will try to reduce really the time and summarize as much as I can. I started as developer many years ago and did business analyst and many years as project and program manager. And years ago, I started moving to strategy and operations, and I've been chief of staff, working as the part of the executive teams as well. And currently, I'm founder of two different companies. One that is around coaching and consultancy, very focused on project and program management. And another company where I'm co-founder is a service company, where we deliver and provide services to other companies to improve their efficiency, their productivity in a cost-effective way. Those are really the two things. I'm also a board member, so that's another one that I'm doing currently, which is very interesting as well.
Okay, so you're not doing too much, really, are you?
Not really. I believe I have space still for more things.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll find something for you to add to all of your work. So do you know one of the things you mentioned about your new venture and how that helps organizations to be efficient, to be streamlining what they do? That, for me, I can tell automatically how your change experience is going to be very valuable for that, because it is, I think, productivity is key in delivering game-changing sort of initiatives for users, for clients, etc. So I can see how that works. So can you tell me, with all that in mind, about your background in project and program leadership? What are the key things that you've, without having to mention specifics and names, but what are the key things that you've worked on which you really thought were quite pivotal in your learning experience?
Cliff, I could actually speak and talk about this for hours, right? First, I believe I want to tell you that I'm really and truly passionate about both roles and positions. They are different, and there are still lots of confusion between both, I would say, but they are really different roles, right? I remember I was consultant for many years, and I started as project manager and as consultant working with clients. And obviously I got so many different lessons learned, right, from that experience. I remember being just junior and starting projects and not really paying too much attention to the relationships, for example. It is a major and a key. It's really essential to create and build strong relationships with all your stakeholders. And building teams was really another lesson learned. And the teams that I was working with and built for that specific project were not reporting to me. So it was a bit, they were actually my peers, right? So it was a bit strange to lead them throughout the project. And then the challenge is really how you build a team in such a short term period of time, because sometimes projects are 6 months, 1 year, and you really need to build a team to start straight away being productive and deliver what you need to deliver, right? So there are really many challenges that as a project and program manager we need to face, and in order to deliver successfully our projects and our programs. At some point, I remember that I was already leading programs as project manager. Remember, this was many years ago. Program management was still not really a thing beginning, many companies were hiring just project managers, and then actually you were leading programs as well. I believe there are still companies doing the same nowadays. It was not really just an old thing, but I remember to start leading programs as project manager was so exciting. Was really try to make sure that all the projects were aligned to deliver something that would be useful in the line with strategic goals of the companies at that point, my clients as well, to make sure that all the teams were really aligned. It's like, thinking about this is like a small organization, a program, right? Because you have so many people working towards the same goals and you want to achieve the same thing. And you need to make sure that everyone is aligned to actually achieve those goals. So very interesting, both roles. Is really something that I really like to talk about. I hope I answered your question as well.
Oh, you did. I've got plenty more questions for you, but I'm quite intrigued to understand, because I've been in a similar trajectory. I started off wanting to be in a development role, then realizing actually I still loved working in tech, and I wanted to be more into a project management role. And then I worked into that role and developed myself there, and then moved into program management. And I know, I can sense and I can experience there's lots of differences. I'd be keen to get your take on the differences. But before I ask that, I'm quite keen to figure out which of the types of roles did you find most rewarding? Because they're similar, but they're not really the same, are they?
They are not the same. I feel so fortunate because I actually enjoyed all the roles that I had. When I started as developer, was really a passion, because building something from scratch, a software, a system that people could use, was amazing. I still love it. I don't code anymore. Actually, some time ago, I was doing a macro in Excel and I was so excited to actually code something, because it's really interesting to really build something that can help people being more productive, for example, right? And automate some kind of processes. So it was really something that I love to do. But I remember to think that I didn't want to code my entire career. It was something that I wanted to go more to leadership and really working and driving others and initiatives. So I started very early as team lead as well. That was another experience. Oh gosh, still remember lots of experience and lessons learned about that one as well. And then project and program management, what can I tell you about that? Is really how do you bring everyone with you to achieve a goal? That is so interesting. Is like a superpower, right? Is how do you actually transform just an idea in something that is concrete, in a plan, in a strategy that brings everyone with you, and everyone, I mean, team, stakeholders, even your sponsor, the executives, to actually achieve something. And that is amazing if we think about that, right? The power that you have to really help the teams and the project, the program, the organization to achieve those strategic goals. So that's another one. When I moved to strategy and operations, was a completely different experience, right? I brought lots of my skills. I believe you can transfer lots of the skills that you have as project and program manager to operations and strategy, but it was a new world for me as well. And it was really interesting. I learned so much also. As part of the executive teams, I learned a lot with stakeholders, with other executives, and I was running programs as well in a different way. I was more being a sponsor of those programs than actually being the program manager. And so completely different challenges. And I was loving it as well. And today, as a co-founder, what can I tell you as well? I'm so busy because I'm really doing something that I like to do, is set up a company. What do you need to do? Sometimes can be overwhelming. The other day I actually shared something on LinkedIn that I was overwhelmed. Can be so much, but comes again to the skills that you have to plan, to schedule, to bring others with you as well, right? To share your ideas, and how do you transform again those ideas in something that is a bit more concrete to help others as well. So I feel that maybe the common topic that I'm trying to share with you is really this passion about transforming something from scratch in something that is viable and help others. Same thing with my practice coaching and consulting approach. Same thing. I decided to become a coach. I was already doing coaching for many, many years in mentorship in all the roles that I was. But I decided to really help others. And I started thinking, how can I help others? Where can I help others? And project and program manager again comes to the equation, because it's something that I really love to do. And I did it for so many years that I feel that I have the experience and I can help other project and program managers. So So yeah, I believe the common piece here is really this transformational, if we can call transformation to all of this that I just shared with you.
Yes, absolutely indeed. I was thinking as well about core differences. I'm really keen to get your take on what are they, and I'm also thinking about people who potentially want to transition from maybe a project or a Scrum type role and want to lead or work within broader engagements that have a longer lifespan, programs or work streams, whatever we might want to call them to a degree. What would you say are the core differences and the changes in maybe mindset shift and skills that are needed to then do that transition?
Cliff, I believe there are more common things than there actually are differences. And I would start maybe by calling out what I feel that is common. There are so many skills that are common to project and program managers, right? Maybe applied in different ways, because obviously the method, the structure are different, right? And the approach is different. How we run a project and how we run a program, different ways. But skills itself, leadership, for example, both have to be very good on leadership. Communications, we apply communications in different ways. Project managers communicate to their own stakeholders that are more within the project, and program managers probably more at the senior management level. But communication skills need to be really, really good, right? Growth mindsets. We embrace challenges, which is not easy, but we need to. So there are so many. We need to zoom in and zoom out. Different ways as well. A project manager will zoom in more in a Scrum team, right? And try to understand how they do it to make sure that obviously we somehow can help with the challenges. A program manager will zoom in projects. So those are common, applied in different ways, I would say. Where I really see the difference is in the mindset that you mentioned. The mindset is completely different. And when we progress from project manager to a program manager role, sometimes it's hard to really leave the hands-on, to look to the details, to look to all the details and all the planning and schedule and the budget that we need to make sure that the project will be delivered and all the deliverables will be on time and on budget. A program manager is not so low level, right? Is more there to align the other project managers to achieve the goals, the strategic goals. The main difference between projects and programs can be also, and that is really a PMI thing, can be also around outputs and outcomes, right? A project is very orientated to outputs, so the deliverables that we need to achieve at the end of the project. A program is much more aligned with outcomes. That is really the results of those outputs. There are many, many companies that don't have program levels, only have project levels. I mentioned during my career I had and worked in some of those companies. And I'm really keen to also see project managers look to outcomes and really align with the strategic goals that the company, because if you don't have the program manager to do that, someone needs to do it. Usually it's the senior management that is doing, but I believe a project manager is really in the place to actually be successful in looking to outcomes as well. But those are really the main differences that I see between both roles. You also mentioned how can we progress from one to another. I feel that is a natural progression from project to program. I remember doing projects. I started doing programs still as project manager, and I believe at some point you will feel that is your next step, right? He's not only looking to one project, but maybe coordinating different projects to achieve something else. So I believe it's a natural thing. There is no specific path, I would say. A person that has those skills can actually go to a program and be successful as a program manager as well. But I feel that is the natural progress from project to program.
Yeah, I think so. And what I found is that a lot of people are happy in a project role and they're incredible at it and can continue to do it. I just found exactly what you said. It was a natural progression at a certain stage, and I just wanted to do something slightly different within the same domain. Now, what I did find though was that when I progressed into a program role, I did struggle in what you said earlier around trusting people and zooming in and zooming out. When you suddenly have multiple projects or work streams under your belt, you cannot be there all the time. You certainly can't zoom into to the same level. And I certainly struggled for a while until I realized that actually it's based on trusting your people, communicating effectively to them and with them and letting them do their thing, right? And being there when they need you. And as soon as I let go, I was able to relax more into my role and focus on the things I should be focusing on, which is, again, the wider breadth of stakeholders that I needed to be kept in check and kept aligned as well. So, and then I really started to enjoy the role then. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those points because they really resonate with me.
It's interesting because you were talking and I was also thinking that sometimes it's also the perception that others have about the roles as well, right? Since sometimes it's not so clear what a project and a program manager is, there is that confusion. And then it's expected from a program manager to actually go and zoom in all the details and expected that actually the program manager knows about everything when it's not really the responsibility of a program manager. And as you say, it's impossible to obviously do all of that, right? It's a completely different level of the communication as well with the stakeholders, but sometimes it's expected from the stakeholders that the program manager knows everything and all the details and go through all of that. So yeah, it's not only about that. Is hard for us. I had the same, very hard, because you are so used to go to all the details and know about everything. So it's hard to go to that level sometimes, but it's also the expectations from others around you.
Indeed. And I was wondering about your new role as well, the business that you've set up and organizations you've worked in. How valuable has your change experience been in setting up a company? Because you said, rightly so, and I agree with this earlier on, that a project is in many ways like a mini company, a mini organization, something to that effect. And therefore, I assume that helping when you started your own venture, that whilst it was going to be very challenging, there were some similarities there, and you put yourself in good stead. I'd be quite keen to understand what was similar and what was transferable for you, because I suspect that there were people who potentially are wanting to start their own businesses at some stage and may want to think, okay, so what can I do to ready myself? What kind of projects and leadership skills can I do and gain? And I suspect that our delivery experience, collective delivery experience, and much of that is valuable. So I'm quite interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely, Cliff. If you talk with my husband will tell me that I'm the person that actually has a schedule for everything. We go on holidays and I'm already thinking about the next step. Where do we go next? So I feel that that kind of organization and planification is great when you actually are starting a company. I do plans for everything. I do schedule for everything. I keep saying to my co-founder, we need to schedule. We need to understand what we will do next, because I believe that gives you that feeling of control, that you are controlling. Things are not controlling you. You are controlling those things, right? And that doesn't mean that you need to do everything at once and next week, but at least you have an idea of where do you need to have them done and how can you do it. And if actually it's possible to do everything, right? Because sometimes you just say, we will do all of these things next week. And then you start really realizing that is impossible. Your day only has 24 hours a day, right? And I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have so many other things to do as well. So for me, transition those skills was really, really important. I have to tell you, there are so many transferable skills from project and program managers that you can use as a founder and to set up your own company for sure. So scheduling, organization, thinking about the next steps. Risks. What are your risks when you actually start a company, right? You are used to think about your approach and your strategy to deliver something. Same thing for a company. You think about your strategy, right? At a different level. You think about the strategy for your company. You define your goals. Right? You define what is your success criteria. With my co-founder, we define what is our success criteria. In 6 months, 12 months, we want to be at a certain point. What is? How we will evaluate if we are in the right path, right? So success criteria that you actually set up for your projects, you set up for your company as well. There are so many different skills, really. Right now, those are really that come to my mind, but I could actually probably really write a list about those. That's really, now that came to my mind, could be a great idea.
Yeah, I think you should. I think there's the big audience of, I assume there is a big audience of co-founders or startup founders who potentially want to see what those skills are that are transferable. I mean, I also think about financial control, right? Whilst it's slightly different, there is so many similarities there, and business case management and so on and so forth, and people leadership, etc. So yeah,
assignments. So yeah, to that point as well, Cliff, my responsibilities within so we are two co-founders, and how we actually split our responsibilities for me is really more around the operations in the setup of the company, because it's where all my background came as well. Although I'm very related and connected to software, but everything around operations and strategy is more my responsibilities. My co-founder is more around marketing and sales, but you can really do that. And you were talking about assignments. So my responsibility is also, when we get a request from a customer, try to understand. We work with freelancers, so try to understand what is the best freelancer who actually has the skills that we need for those requirements. And again, from my project management and my business analyst experience, I try to understand the requirements from the customer, try to understand the skills from the team, that in this case are freelancers, and try to match as much as we can. And then we try to have a plan, we try to have a schedule, and try to define timelines for the freelancer and for the customer to deliver what we need to deliver. So it's like projects and programs here, right?
Exactly right. Well, that's very, very exciting. I can see. I thought there were more transferable skills, but now I think there's even more than I thought of before this conversation. So yeah, that's really, really good. Now I'm really keen to talk more about coaching, right? So you've got multiple skill sets and talents. You've been a coach, and I think you've also coached and led other coaches to bring them on that journey. Tell us about that and how you got into it. You know, what you've learned from coaching and also supporting other coaches.
So supporting other coaches is something that I want to do. Still not there. I'm right now dedicated to project and program managers. And how I want to really help right now in being focused on project and program managers first is really, there are so much that I believe I can help there. If we think about the challenges that a project and a program manager have, like stakeholders, management, the team conflicts and all the dynamics, sometimes even the politics in companies, right, that you need to work around those. All of those, in the way sometimes the projects are red, right, in a very bad status, all of those will bring frustration, lack of confidence the majority of times, will impact the well-being, will impact the performance. How many project managers and program managers tell me that they wake up during the night thinking about the project and even fear about their jobs, right, if they don't deliver on time and be a successful project or program. So I'm really keen to help project and program managers overcoming this. I believe the result is actually very good for all, for me for sure, because I will learn also a lot and I can help others with my experience as well. But for project and program managers, just to see them overcoming all these challenges and that they can be more confident, more relaxed, and be successful, I believe it's already something that for me is very rewarding. I also need to think, and I believe all the coaches need to think, and maybe this is where then other coaches can be actually a benefit as well, is that we don't, from a project and program manager perspective, I don't want only to think about themselves, right? I want them to have an overall view about where they are, where they fit in terms of organization as well. Because if they are in a good place, if they are successful, their position within the company will be much better for sure, right? Maybe a promotion will be there for them as well. And we cannot forget about the company as well in the organization. If project and program managers are successful, if they are happy, if they are motivated, if they are productive, the teams working with them will be more productive. The team morale will be increased, right? If the motivation in the team morale is better, what can we expect? More productivity for sure, right? And probably the attrition rates will be down and will go down. If the productivity is increasing, the revenue probably will go up. So it's not only that I'm helping project and program managers, but somehow I will help organizations as well. And that's why I keep saying that I not only help project and program managers, I continue helping also organizations with coaching as well. I really see lots of value in coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And I've been on both sides, of receiving end and giver of coaching. And actually, even the person who is coaching benefits benefits a lot. I've certainly found not just the recipient, because you're giving and you're seeing something develop and an individual develop, and it's rewarding, right? So I suspect you're also very well rewarded too as a result.
So much. It's so good.
Yeah. With all that said, what would you say are the sort of the top 3 skills that you think would make a very good coach or a successful coach? I'm putting you slightly on the spot.
So I believe comes again to the project and program manager skills as well.
Yeah.
As a project and a program manager, you need to actively listen to others. You need to learn how to listen to others, right? And understand others. Coaching is really about listening to your clients, to their challenges, is helping them to set their own goals. Coaching is very goal-oriented, right? So clients will set up those goals and you partner with them. You are their thinking partner to actually achieve those goals. So again, about you need to know how to set those goals to help your clients to also set their own goals and be very committed to it as well. The client needs to be committed, needs to be accountable. Sometimes people need an accountability partner as well. And the coach is there to do that as well. So maybe those 3, there are many others, but maybe those 3 would be the ones that I would highlight.
Yeah, good choices there. Good choices. You've really got me thinking now as well, because there's so much more in coaching that I could ask you about. But I think the last one specifically around coaching that I'm quite interested in sort of getting a better view on from your perspective is around where it's gone wrong and what you potentially would have done differently. And I've said that because I've had an experience where I've been coached and then my perception of what coaching was potentially not what it actually was, and therefore it affected my ability to support others. I'm quite interested to know where you've been at the receiving end of it, or you've experienced coaching that hasn't been as successful, and potentially what people should do differently instead.
I believe there is also confusion around what coaching is. Sometimes people think that coaching is about training or it's about mentoring. And there are different disciplines, let's say, right? Coaching and mentoring are different. They are both very rewarding, very important, I would say, but they are different. One of the things that I usually ask to my clients is if they really want to go with the coaching only, if they want also a bit of mentorship. There are many people looking to mentoring that is really knowing about your experience and try to somehow mimic your experience to their path. That is not really what I believe we should do, right? It's great to have a mentor. It's great to understand what are the options. It's great to learn from a mentor, but you really need then to have a coach as well and try to make your own solutions, because you really know more than anyone else your situation. You are unique, right? So don't try to mimic others. It's important to have mentors. It's important to know and the experience from others, but really try to come up with your own solutions and your plans and action plans to achieve your own goals. That's really important. It's where I believe coaching really comes. Yes, there are, and I believe maybe sometimes the bad experience come in this related with this lack of understanding what each of these roles can be, right? And the person maybe can actually search for a coach and is expecting training, or is expecting that a coach shared all the knowledge and tells exactly what they should do. That is not the goal. So it's very important, and I make sure that at the beginning I share with the person what coaching is, what mentorship is, what training is, and try to align with the person what exactly they need. And that can take some time, can try to understand exactly what are the goals that the person wants to achieve, right? And then maybe align what we can do. Can we actually go a bit of a coaching and apply some techniques? Can actually be more a mentorship relationship, or it's required a bit of training as well, that in terms of project and program management I can do as well, right? But yeah, I believe those bad experiences, the majority of the times, Cliff, are about the expectations that the client has that are not very well aligned with the expectations that the coach has as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just incompatibility. Oh gosh, it's a hard word for me, but sometimes it's not easy, right? We are talking with people. we are people and we are trying to help others. And sometimes personalities or even the client is not committed to it. If the client is not committed, it's almost impossible to help the client.
Yeah, I think you touched on a really good point as well about not being, I'm not going to repeat what you said, lack of being compatible, incompatibility,
Yes.
whatever it was. Yeah. And because sometimes you reach a point where in the coaching journey, and again, I've seen this, where actually it worked for a bit, but similar is true for mentorship. It works for a bit, but actually it then becomes just a routine and drags on. And actually it could have finished a while back, but you then continue that relationship, the coaching relationship, even though the coaching is no longer needed, right? Or if the two parties potentially weren't compatible, like you say, in the first place, and you just need to call it out and say maybe someone else might be the best fit for you, and vice versa. And just being brave, I think, is helpful. I've seen it happen, and I'm glad you said what you said about having the conversation up front. What do you actually want, and therefore, is it coaching? Is it training? Is it mentorship? Here are the differences between them, and then tailoring as needed. So really good, really thorough view, and I appreciate that, the way that you sort of articulated.
And this is a best practice from coaches to actually reflect on the sessions that we had, try to understand where actually went well, where, again, very connected with project coach, everything is connected with project and program management skills. That is lessons learned, right? We do lessons learned as project and program managers. As a coach, we do reflection time. We should reflect on the session. We should reflect what went well, what didn't really go very well. What can we improve for the next session? And at some point, we may actually realize that our relationship is not actually going and progressing very well. I don't know. There are different reasons there, but maybe because we are not so compatible. We are not helping anymore with the goals. Maybe the client is not so committed to it. Can be so many different reasons, but I believe we should be very honest as coaches and have that open conversation with the client for sure.
Yeah, indeed. And I have to confess that when I initially helped people from a coaching perspective, my biggest challenge was not listening enough and wanting to always impart my quote unquote knowledge, when actually that was not necessary at all. What I should have been doing was just listening and understanding what are the individual's actual needs and how can I help them, rather than how can I just talk at them. And that was certainly my biggest failing as a trying to coach at the time.
I believe everyone starts like that.
Yeah.
I believe everyone has the same thing. It's like you can see where maybe the solution is, and you are so compelled to say something, right? But no, you really need to stop thinking, no, I'm not here for that. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help and really make the person to actually achieve to their own solution. Sometimes I just ask if the person is stuck. Do you have someone else that actually was in the same situation? Or do you want me to give some kind of tips here, And if the person is okay with it, I will do it. But it's very hard to see the person struggling, but you are not really sharing what could be a possible solution.
Exactly right. Great, excellent. So I'm just gonna give you a bit of a warning. At the end, I'm gonna ask you to ask me a question, right? So I'm just gonna prepare you for that. And I think it's good because you get to put me on the spot. You get to see me get to squirm and try and answer a question. And that question can be obviously about projects and program leadership, anything that's on your mind that you want to see what my response is. But before then, I want to ask you something about people that want to start out in project roles. How would you recommend they pursue? And to be honest, I know that there's no one size fits all. Everybody has a different journey. But if somebody wanted to start out as a project leader, how would you recommend they start out on that journey, or any practical experience or anything like that?
I would suggest, so again, there is no one solution fits all, right? My experience was really starting in the companies that I was already working for. So I always suggest to people that if you are working in a company, you want to move to a different role, challenge yourself, talk with your managers, create your board of directors network, let's say, within the company that somehow can help you try to understand what the new role role could be as well, how things work, and maybe also advocate for yourself. So I always suggest to learn about the role that you really want to go to, because sometimes you can just think that is the role, it's amazing, but you don't know too much. So it's important to talk with others, try to understand, study. It's really important. I know that certifications are important. People keep talking about PMP, PGMP. All those certifications are important. But remember that PMI is more directed and more aligned to make you a professional. So those certifications are really professional. You need to have already some years of experience. So try other trainings. Try really to understand what project or program manager is. Really learn about that. Talk a lot with people that are already doing those. There are so many material around. I won't even talk about books, but obviously read books is important. There are many around, many good ones around, and try it. I would really suggest try it. Put yourself in the spot to do it the next time that exists a project. Start by a small one. Try to apply what you've learned and be structured, I would say. Don't try to do it just because you see someone doing it. No, really learn. You will do lots of mistakes for sure. We all do. So we learn from those. And the next time you try to do better. And the next time you try to do better. And that's how you keep learning for many, many years as project and program manager. And that's really what I believe we should do, is continue learning. We never know everything. So just try it. That's really my suggestion for someone that wants to start in project management.
Yeah, I totally agree. Giving it a shot, giving it a try, and just being not afraid of mistakes is probably the biggest way for me to get going, really, as well as everything else you mentioned. So yeah, fantastic. I've got one last question for you, then it's over to you to ask me a question. And this is about business analysis, because I've met delivery leaders who previously had business analysis experience, and it shows, and I think it's very valuable. I'm quite interested to know from yourself, because you've had a similar trajectory as well and a background. What would you say is the significance of business analysis in a project team? And the reason why I'm asking that is because there are many instances where I've worked with business analysts and I've really valued it, and I think it's an incredible skill. But sometimes I've seen that there's been maybe differences in terms of perceived value of each role. Both are equally valuable, but I'd like to get your take on that and the value that each role provides.
Oh, I agree 100% that both roles are very valid, right? The skills that we can bring as business analysts to a project and program management are really important as well. As a business analyst, you are very used to listen to what the client is saying. And sometimes it's not very concise, it's not very structured, it's not very going to the point. I want this, right? People just start talking and you are there for hours trying to understand what really the person wants. And you need to have the capacity to really translate, again, what sometimes is just an idea to something that is more concrete. And you need to document that, right? In a very simple way that everyone will understand what is required to do. And in a way that people understand what are really also the next steps and really make then a technical solution, for example. So those skills are transferable to a project and a program manager and are very useful as well, because a project manager also needs to listen to their stakeholders, needs to understand what are their perspectives and opinions, make solutions, try to come with solutions to then have a brainstorm with their stakeholders and try to find out what is the best solution. The majority of the times, again, try to understand and translate what is going on the stakeholder head and try to apply and define a strategy to actually achieve that as well. So I feel that is lots of common skills and the way you approach things for both roles. There are also, just because you are asking me that, and I don't want to really delay these, but Cliff, there are also sometimes we feel that project and program managers need to be experts in their fields, right? So if I'm doing and leading projects in software, I probably need to be a developer or have some background in development. I felt all the time that all my skills were complementing, and were actually building up for my next role, and was for me obviously very useful when I was leading a software project and I was able to talk with developers, because because I could talk the same language. Very useful, but it's not mandatory. Anyone can actually lead a project in the program, even if you are not expert in that area. So if we have project and program managers listen to these, they are scared. Oh, I'm not. And I had clients saying to me, I'm now being assigned to a software project and I don't know anything. I don't even understand what developers are saying. You are able to do it, okay? You probably need to be a bit more effort. Tell them to explain to you as you are a child, but you are able to lead that project, I'm sure.
I'm glad you mentioned that point. It's such a big point, and a lot of people, including myself, have had almost imposter syndrome around having project meetings or trying to lead a team of people who are experts in their field, and you actually don't know how they do what they do. And so that reassurance you've given is really valuable, and I hope that people listening to that will be encouraged by it. So yeah, thank you so much. Now over to you. Any questions for me?
Oh, I love this one. Yes. So you mentioned that you also had a similar path, and you also did or still do some project management and program management. I would love that you, Cliff, could share with us your main challenges.
Of course, my main challenges, and I think more, I'll probably think more at the program view, because that's where I'm at the moment, in my most recent experience. The main challenge is really galvanizing people together. And because, I work with, I'm sure you do work with very experienced, very talented people or very opinionated people. And that's what we want, right? Because we want people with opinions and views and who want to bring their skills to the table. But how do we get them on a journey so that they're all using their skills to the best of their abilities, but for a common goal and not for any other reason? And I guess the main way for that, to do that for me, is to ensure that I'm very, very crystal clear on what the business objective is that we're trying to deliver against. And not only is it written down in a way and articulated in a way that is measurable and specific and all the rest of it, but also in a way that is emotive. And that emotive aspect of it is what is, I guess, people miss a lot. I like to do things because it makes me feel good or a certain way. I will do something if I have to, and if there's a specific, tangible reason to do it, but I would actually want to do even more if I've got emotional connection to it. And so building an emotional connection and trying to articulate that is important. And I think as a delivery person, I think we all need to have that, and we miss it a lot. So that's a challenge that I use that approach to overcome with, and to build a narrative for what's happening. And I can probably think of one more challenge, and that challenge is managing expectations, really. So managing expectations of stakeholders. That could be anyone. It could be my team to a degree, could be stakeholder, right? The users are stakeholders. The people who are funding the changes are stakeholders, and their bosses are, right? And beyond that. So managing people's expectations all at the same time, I find that challenging, because sometimes you can go into a project board or program board and give an update, but equally you could be going to a senior person who's expecting you to just do the work because they're paying you to do so, but in reality they need to do something as well. So how do you have that conversation with them to say, actually, yes, I'm here to do this, but I can't do it unless you fulfill your part of the bargain? And setting those expectations up front is super important. Not only is it important to set the expectation, but I think also to keep reminding everybody of those expectations so it's not forgotten, because you're going to need to call on that at some point in future. Does that answer your question?
And so common. Yes, common, those challenges, right? Because we are working with people and we are complex. People are not easy. Oh, yes, I love it. Thank you.
Great. And I think this is a perfect way to end the conversation. It's been a real pleasure, Raquel. It's been so much fun having a conversation with you and learning from you as well, and all your experience. And thank you so much for coming on board, and all the best. Thanks again.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you so much for inviting me again and spending this time with me and allow me to share my thoughts. So very good. Thank you so much. And to everyone that you will share my contact, please connect. I love to really have these discussions with all of you. So please connect. I usually use more LinkedIn, so it could be the best platform.
Right.
And thank you, Cliff, again.
No problem.
Have a great time.
Thank you very much. Bye for now. Bye.